Balance is about stability. And when I talk about stability, I mean emotional stability. Balance is not a 50-50 thing. It's about your ability to weigh issues, put importance on the issues that are arising, and then know where your priorities are and what you have to focus more time on.
Joining me today is Lady Vera, a beautiful guest whose story is an embodiment of grace in motion.
I know how to structure things. I don't like stresses, so I don't want to put myself in a situation where I get stressed. So as much as possible, I try to put systems in place to ensure that I'm not stressed.
Sometimes you might decide this way, and God will just decide that it has to be this way. How do you navigate those moments?
In those moments, what I do is I fall back on the word of God. We should always know that there's a God who created us and He has a plan for us. So when the seasons shift, know that it is temporary.
Welcome to Seraban Conversations, a space where real women share real stories with us to encourage and empower us. This is a space where we celebrate women whose stories embody strength, softness, and the courage to keep going on and showing up. My name is Serwaa Abankwa, and on today's episode of The Juggle is Real, we'll be looking at how women radiate through the different seasons of work, motherhood, and still holding on to their faith. Joining me today is a beautiful guest whose story is an embodiment of grace in motion. Lady Vera is a partner at AB and David Africa. She has over 20 years experience in corporate law and technology. She has a very soft demeanor about her, but trust me, she's a powerhouse. She's one of the women I admire so much, and it's an honor to have Lady Vera Owusu Osei with us. Hello, Lady Vera.
Hi, Serwaa.
How are you doing? Before you answer, you know, as women, usually when they ask you, how are you doing? You're quick to say, oh, I'm fine. But today I want you to tell me exactly where your head space is, how you're feeling. For instance, if you were a color, what color would it be and why?
I would say I'm doing great. By nature, naturally. If I say I'm great, I'm great. In terms of being a color, I'll go for ivory. Ivory was my wedding color, and I chose that color because it has some calmness around it. It's a quiet color, but still a very strong color. It's one of the colors closer to white. White represents pureness. It represents cleanliness. It represents purity. But the reason why I like ivory is because it's richer than the white, and it tells who I am, the calmness within me.
Yes, it does. I have never seen you upset. I know that there are some moments when, you know, we need to deliver your piece and there's hiccup here and there, but in all those moments, there's this calmness about you, and it's something I admire so much.
Thank you.
When you think about the word balance, what does it mean to you?
To me, balance is about stability. And when I talk about stability, I mean emotional stability. And for me, balance is not a 50-50 thing. It's about your ability to weigh issues, put importance on the issues that are arising, and then know where your priorities are and what you have to focus more time on. So it's about being able to take balanced decision on how I spend my time based on priority and based on urgency.
That's beautiful. So what I get is that in order to achieve balance, you need to prioritize what is important from what is not. And if you do that, somehow it also protects your sanity.
That is how I see it. I'm not looking at a 50-50 thing. I'm looking at what is important in the moment. So at this time, do I have to write a letter or do I have to send an email? Writing a letter is of more importance to me than this. So I go with that. It helps me be stable.
That's an interesting one about balance. So, Lady Vera, with all that you carry, the fact that you are a wife, you are a partner, you're a professional, how do you hold yourself beyond all these titles? Was there a moment where you sat down and said, I think I need to take a break and discover who Vera truly is? Did you have any moments like that?
That moment, I haven't had it yet.
Wow.
Where I have to sit down and say that, who is Vera? I think naturally, my husband always says that I have a little bit of OCD. So I know how to structure things and I know how to go about my day. I don't like stresses. So I don't want to put myself in a situation where I get stressed. So as much as possible, I try to put systems in place to ensure that I'm not stressed. It may look different to another person because somebody may think that, why are you living your life like this? But it helps me. So that moment where I say that, who is Vera? I haven't reached there yet. I'm sure it may come, but I don't think I have gotten into that space where I'm thinking that I don't know who I am.
I think my takeaway here is that it's important to put structures into your life as a woman. Personally, I'm taking a lot of cues from it because I noticed that, like I said earlier, as women, we tend to juggle a lot of things. And one of the structures would also be to just take a pause or a break and say that I think I've had enough of this. It's time to rest. This year has really been a tough one for most of us. And myself as an example, I've just been running, going, no breaks, no structure and all of that. But nature has a way of breaking you when you don't want to. And so for about a week, I couldn't do anything. I was just lying in bed and I was looking at all the things that needed to be done. I simply couldn't move to do what needed to be done. And some way, somehow, when I was there, I also realized that things happened anyway when I was lying in that bed. And so I love the fact that you talk about structure. So as women, I think it's important that we put those systems in place so that we're not doing everything. Being a superwoman doesn't give any awards or anything. So like Lady Vera is saying, I love the fact about the structure very well. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
So there's a saying that life comes in seasons. And we have work, we have relationships, not just with our spouses, but with our friends. There's motherhood. There's even our own sense of self. So I want to ask, how do you navigate these seasons of change, especially when things don't go as planned? Because I know you love structure, but sometimes you might decide this way and God will just decide that it has to be this way. How do you navigate those moments?
I agree with you perfectly because as human beings, we have our own plans, but the Bible also lets us understand that God has a purpose for our lives. So although we plan to do A, there may be a time that your A may not be what God has planned for you. So you find yourself being stretched to do B. In those moments, what I do is I fall back on the word of God. I think My father was a catechist, a Presbyterian catechist. So right from the beginning, he introduced us to church. There were times that we didn't like to go, but you can't stay home when that man is around. So right from the beginning, we knew that we had to be dependent on God. So in those moments where I find that I'm veering off what I thought I wanted to do, like I indicated early on, I fall back on the word and then try to find verses in the Bible. There are some that naturally comes to me. So let's say if I look at Ecclesiastes, there's a provision that says that in the good times, we should be grateful to God. In the bad times too, we have to sit down and reflect and know that this same God, who is the God of the good times, is also the God of the bad times. So I go back to my God and then I pray that He should direct me on which way to go. But one thing I also must say in terms of what I fall back on, there are some strong pillars in my life in terms of relationships. My husband, that one, I just take it for granted that he's there. And that man, you can always depend on him. He will do anything for me. But I would always give credit to my mother-in-law. In the moments where, let's say, children, I have to pick children, I have work, I have this, I have that. You can be assured that if you call that woman, it doesn't matter what she's doing.
Wow.
She would make the time and attend to whatever need that I'm requesting of her. So it is important to have people in your life that you can depend on. Of course, God is our fallback, our stronghold, so that's the primary thing. But apart from that, it is important to have people in your life who can help you stay balanced at all times.
I love what you mentioned. And so it's important to have God as your source, because as much as possible, as humans, things will not go the way we want
Not
it
at
to.
all.
And those of us that say, "Oh, we are fine. We don't need anybody. We are cool." There's nothing like that.
No.
You need a support system. And I think I saw it somewhere. A preacher was saying that it's important to pray for good people, in our lives, and to have a mother. We all hear stories about mother-in-laws, but to have a mother-in-law who you can fall back on.
My mother-in-law was a godsend.
Wow. I'm happy to hear that. So you need God as your source, and you need the gift of good people. That's a good one. Thank you very much. Okay, so I would ask this. Do you think that balance is truly possible, or some way, somehow, we just find peace in the midst of the chaos?
Well, I would say that balance is possible. That's why I early on stated that it's not a 50-50 thing. There are times in our lives that certain things are predominant. In those moments, certainly your focus will be on whatever predominant thing is happening in your life. So, for instance, you have children. I got married. When I got married, my husband was my priority. But when the children started coming, that priority shifted. The truth is, I saw these little human beings as vulnerable. And because of that, I needed to put in more work and time when it comes to them because at that moment, that is what was important for me. So balance doesn't necessarily have to be a 50-50 thing. If it's 80-20 and it works for you, you should live with that. And just because something is happening now and taking more of your time doesn't mean that the other things are not important. You may be attending to them, but you are not spending as much time on it as you are on the other thing. So you have to recognize that this is a temporary thing. It will pass. And when it passes, you have the ability to realign to whatever it is that is happening in your life. So if at a moment in time, something is predominant and you have to make time for it, in my view, it will be proper to make time for that. But you have to have the knowledge that it's temporary, it will pass, and then you can realign and then keep moving.
I love that. Everything is temporary. It will pass. So before we end our session, we usually have a reflection segment. Our Seraban Conversation is powered by our latest collection, Sun Root. Sun because we see what the sun does, and root because we're asking ourselves, what is your root? And for you, I'm excited that you talked about God and the gift of good people. So I'm going to ask you about a sun moment in your life you share with us, and then a root moment. But I'll explain it shortly. The sun moment is something that lifted or inspired you recently. And then a root moment is something that grounded or challenged you this week. Can you share that with us?
Okay, something that has lifted me and inspired me this week is, I think, Wednesday or so. My cousin finished her PhD. When she was starting, she said, "Oh, Vera, let's do this." She's older than me, I think by 2 years or so. So when she was starting, she was like, "Oh, we should do this." Because the latter people will not be happy that the women are moving up like that. But I was like, right now, I don't think I want to study.
Yeah.
Because I have other things to do and all that. But on Wednesday, she called me. She was like, "Oh, Vera, I'm done."
Wow.
I said, "I'm happy for you." So it's an inspiration for me right now. I'm thinking, should I start?
Well, maybe you should.
Should I start? And she's trying to encourage me, but it has inspired me. It's inspired me because I know that it doesn't matter your age, it doesn't matter where you are, it doesn't matter what juggling you are juggling. You can still do whatever you set your mind to do. In terms of root moments, it's not something that happened this week, but that moment I'll talk about death, unfortunately.
It's okay.
I'll talk about death because I think a week or two ago, a very good friend of mine woke up in the morning, dressed up on a Sunday, and went to church, leading praises and worship. And she just dropped dead.
What?
That's it. So what that moment taught me was that life, I don't want to say life is short, but we don't know the plans that God has for us. So sometimes we just have to live so that whenever He calls us, the people left behind can always remember the good moments that was shared with the person. I think that has been the moment that has really grounded me in the past week or so. Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing this with us. That's a very deep session. And I think my son moment will be the fact that sometimes slowing down is also progress, because like I said earlier, lying in bed, not being able to do anything. But there are some notes I took that I know that in a few months to come might probably turn into another idea, another dress, another collection which you will buy.
At a discounted rate.
Of course. Once you've come here, you are on our list. And my root moment is the fact that God's strength is made perfect in our weakness. And so, although we've lost someone, to think that, they were singing, praise and worship, they slump, and that is it. That's really deep. And so, I'm praying, that the family have comfort in this really trying times. And I thank you also so much for being part of the Seraban team. It means a lot to us. Thank you so much. So would like you to give us your final words.
When we are talking about balance, it's not a 50-50 thing. So whatever is predominant in your life and important to you, at every point in time, it will be prudent to focus more time on that. But above all, in all our living, in all our going out and coming in all the work that we are doing in our family life, in taking care of our children, and doing all these activities that sometimes seem to weigh us down, we should always know that there's a God who created us and he has a plan for us. So when the seasons shift, know that it is temporary and that everything will balance by itself, and then you can realign your life to continue living. Thank you.
Thank you too so much. This has been Seraban Conversations. And to every woman who's listening to us, we want to encourage you and also to tell you that your juggle will make sense. We want to let you know that we know how you hustle through motherhood, even being single and all of that. But in all of this, you're going to be definitely fine. And sometimes slowing down is also progress. This has been Seraban Conversations. My name is Serwaa Abankwa, and thank you for having us.